Welcome to AboutFACE Theatre presents 5 Questions With, and today's guest, Mark Lamos. Mark has been artistic director of the Westport Country Playhouse in Connecticut since 2009. His directorial credits include on Broadway, Our Country's Good and Seascape, both Tony nominated, as well as the Rivals and Cymbeline. While off-Broadway, he has won Lortel Awards for his productions of Tiny Alice and Measure for Measure. While his work in New York has been seen at theatres such as Lincoln Center, Playwrights Horizons, Signature, and Shakespeare in the Park. He was the artistic director of Hartford Stage for 16 seasons, including winning the 1989 Tony Award. While elsewhere, his work has been seen at theatres from the Kennedy Center to the Guthrie to Canada's Stratford Festival. He was the first American to direct a company in the former Soviet Union, and the first to act as a dramaturg in the creation of a ballet. Additionally, his work in opera is extensive, including televised productions for the Met and NYC Opera, winning an Emmy, as well as work at Glimmerglass, Bergen National, Gothenberg, and London's Barbican, just to name a few. Mark, you are very welcome.
Thank you. I'm so flattered to be asked.
It's great to have you. So Mark, we're going to jump right in. So the first question is, what play or experience first got you into theater?
It was a bunch of firsts, I think. I had to think about this answer for quite a while because my first recollection was something that my sister told me. She told me she saw a production of mine in which there was a lot of men in armor battling each other, right? A Shakespeare play. And it was the first play she'd ever seen of mine that I directed. Mm-hmm. And when we were having drinks afterwards with her husband and friends and stuff, somebody said, "Sarah, how did you feel about seeing your brother's directorial work for the first time?" She said, "Well, it was like watching him play in his bedroom. He had knights, lead knights painted, and a little castle that he got for Christmas, and he would move these around, and his best friend and he would do this, and they'd put on loud music from movies and things." And she said, "And so he's just still doing it. He's just doing it with." But I do remember in the 4th grade auditioning for the role of a one-line in a play, a school play about Snow White, and I got the part. I was an elf, you know. But I think the real beginning of me thinking that I wanted to be on the stage and not in the audience was when my parents, and I think a lot of children this happens to, took my sister and me to see The Nutcracker. It was the George Balanchine production. It came to Chicago, which was our hometown, and we had very high up seats, way up in the gods. And I just thought, I want to be there. I don't want to be in this seat. I want to be in that square of this beautiful gold proscenium with these mice and these children and this growing Christmas tree. And it was the sort of wonder of it all. But I was absolutely spellbound from that moment forward. And I know I was very young, and nobody else in my family felt that way about the theater. But I was a violinist. Even as a young kid, I trained as a classical violinist for many, many years. So music was a big part of my life, and the music of the Nutcracker, I think, enhanced that. So I think that was the beginning as a little boy. And then, oddly enough, I haven't thought about this for years until you asked me this question this morning. I realized that I got my actor's equity card playing the boy in Brian Friel's Lovers. That's wonderful.
Come on.
Yeah, and I was right out of college. This producer had seen me at Northwestern playing a crazed lover in a Feydeau farce. I don't know how he ever made the connection. Sort of feckless boy. But he came backstage and he said, "I have a role that I think you'd be very good in." And I auditioned and I got the part. And it was a director whose heritage was Irish, Eugene O'Sullivan, a wonderful person. And I remember, this was before anything electronic, sitting in my bedroom, learning an Irish accent for this part. And fortunately, the director was Irish, so he was able to also help me. And then I did Borstal Boy. Shortly after that, same theater. Isn't that amazing? So, beginning as a professional actor was with Irish plays.
Love it. Love it.
Best place to start, Mark. Best place.
You're right. Anyway, so that was the beginning.
Fantastic.
Brilliant. Okay, Mark. Well, you have obviously worked on so many different plays and so many fantastic plays. We're just going to put you on the spot a little bit. Can you tell us one great play that you love and why?
Well, I've done 3 productions of it, so it must mean I love it. Shakespeare's Cymbeline. I fell in love with it when I saw it at the Stratford Festival. I was quite young, and a wonderful director, French-Canadian director named Jean Gascon, had directed it with all of the sort of great regulars of the Stratford Company. And I was completely blown away by it. Again, it was a story with a great deal of the miraculous in it. So not unlike the Nutcracker. I mean, miracles happen and terrible things happen to people, but the dead are resurrected in Cymbeline. People who are thought to be dead are actually alive. And so it celebrates this rejuvenative quality in people's spirits. And though was long dismissed as a kind of crazy fairy tale by Shakespeare late in his career, and maybe someone else helping him write it or whatever, it appeals to me still on so many levels. I did it first at Hartford Stage, my first season there. No one was doing that play then, really. So it got a lot of attention, and I had a wonderful cast and a wonderful time doing it, exploring it with them. And then I did it as my final play at Hartford Stage 17 years later with another wonderful cast. So it sort of bookended my time at this theater, which had meant a lot to me. And then I was asked to do it at Lincoln Center. So I did a 3rd production. And it's just endlessly fascinating to me. I love it. But for those reasons, that the miraculous is an achievable goal in life. Yeah, I think that's the bottom line. I feel the same way. I've never directed it. I was in it as an actor, Winter's Tale, where, right? I mean, the same kind of miracle happens in that final scene. It's just so powerful. And, you know, I do feel like a statue comes to life. I'm not always sure she was hiding away there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just, I mean, I would explore that if I ever worked on it, but oh golly, you know, was the statue animated by love?
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
I love those. Yeah.
I'm like feeling the feels right now. So, can you tell us of a time in your theater life where something didn't turn out as you expected it to? It turned out different.
Well, now, you know, being in the theater, that happens on on almost a weekly basis. I mean, I mean, so many last minute things. I mean, in the last few years, just for instance, we were doing a production of Lettuce and Lovage, the Peter Shaffer play. And I had a very fine actress who I'd worked with for many years playing the lead. And she, 2 days before the first preview, I was having dinner with the designers during our tech rehearsals, and my assistant came running into the restaurant, which was next door to the theater. I thought, this does not bode well. That she's been rushed to the hospital and they don't know what's wrong with her. And I literally, we finished the tech with my assistant walking through the park just so they could light it. And then I gathered together with the actors, who were senior actors who I admired enormously and had worked with before. And I said, what do we do? And who do you know? And they came up with a few names of actresses I knew quite well, but I was in such shock, I wasn't thinking carefully. And we were able to bring in an actress from the West Coast who learned the part in days. We canceled 2 previews. She was ultimately on earphones, on a headset, and she was brilliant. She just pulled it off. Her name is Candace Chappelle, and she was like an angel. She just pulled this thing together brilliantly. She got her first laugh, her second laugh, her third laugh. I've never seen anything like it. And a young intern, a young woman, practically lived with her in her hotel, feeding her lines, and then being the one who fed her the lines through the earpiece. And you never knew she had it. She wasn't an elderly actress. She was actually a bit too young for the part, which saved us. That was good. You know,
Yeah.
we read about how young Maggie Smith was when she played it. She was far younger than the actress who had to be. She was sick. She turned out to be fine.
Yeah.
But, she couldn't open the play. So that was one big unexpected.
Yeah.
Oh, not fun. But
No,
I'm
no.
sure you've been through that yourselves. You know, it's just
Absolutely, yeah. And you make it happen. You get the show on by hook or crook.
Yeah.
it's like the role Geoffrey Rush plays in Shakespeare in Love, isn't it? Where he says, "I don't know, somehow it all."
I don't think I'll turn up.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, Mark.
No, go ahead.
Talking then about obviously all these different experiences you have in the theater, and you've had an amazing career already. So what is it that keeps you coming back to the theater? What moves you? What excites you about theater?
Well, I love being in a room with actors. I love watching actors work and inspiring me. I love learning. I mean, I never stop learning in the theater. You're learning about personal relationships. You're learning about literature. You're learning about art. You're working always with extraordinarily interesting people, designers and actors and writers. And, to be able to have that kind of a life has been very, very, it's been a wonderful thing that I'm able to continue that. Is just, it's a hunger, I think, that you just think, what will I learn today? Who will I interact with? How will I respond to this play now that I felt a certain way about maybe 5 years ago? Oh, here's a writer I've always wanted to work with, and she wants to work with me. Oh my gosh. Or we're reading a play by a new writer and we get all excited about his work. It's that constant, I mean, it can be exhausting, as you know, because you're just constantly being fed these experiences of the senses in a way. And yet you are taking all of that, if you're really lucky and you're a director, and making something that then you send out to the world. You send a letter to the world, and you do it as a group. I mean, as powerful as the director always seems to be and is and has to be, by the time the play is ready for an audience, really, it's such a collective experience, I find. And this is just me, but I feel like almost I let go. It's like watching a baby stand up suddenly, or all of your genes are in it and you've fed it and you've taken care of it, and then it just starts to walk. And all of these people on stage and the designers and the lighting cues and the music cues and everything are contacting an audience and making this bridge. And you just feel so fulfilled, or terrified if things aren't working, as we know. And that's another challenge. But it also, I find there's a lot of bravery in the theater, because people like you are, you're putting yourselves out there, you're putting yourselves on the line. You are exposing, especially as actors, you're exposing yourselves so much. You're exposing things you don't know about yourselves. And that I find just tremendously brave and beautiful to watch. And I don't think there's another artistic profession that does that. I mean, a great ballet dancer, she has to have this elevation. She has to have this. She has to have that. The great classical musician, the great jazz musician. But actors, oh my God, they're just exposed. And the talent, and I think it's a great talent, to unlock that in themselves and let themselves give that to a foreign body, a role in a play, is just an amazing moment of grace and power, So being around that is what keeps me going.
Absolutely. Oh, I like that. Makes me want to be in a play.
Definitely. So I know you've done acting, dramaturgy, directing, all sorts of things within the theater. Can you tell us about any skills or tools from the theater that you've learned or acquired along the way that you have found useful in the rest of your life, the life that isn't in the theater?
It's a wonderful question. I think a sense of negotiation, because I think when you're in the theater, the first negotiation is with the text. Then you're negotiating with designers and dramaturgs. You're negotiating with a playwright. I always think of it as negotiations, not impositions, not because I won't learn anything if I don't listen and negotiate. And so I think that's the big thing I've taken away in life. Possibly not everybody I know in my personal life would agree with that. I do have a discipline for listening that I think came out of my musical training since I was very young. And when you play the violin, really you develop an ear. It's not like playing the piano where you don't kind of need an ear, or other instruments. You need it in a string player. So I think that's kind of what I've taken away, that as soon as I find myself a little bit ready to push back about something, I try very hard to kind of, all right, no, let's talk this through, or let me hear you say that again.
Nice. Okay,
that's a good one.
a good thing to remember. Well, Mark, this has been absolutely wonderful. As a bonus question, can you tell us anything about what you're working on at the moment?
I'm working to, just after this phone call, I'll be talking to the staff at the Westport Country Playhouse with my colleagues there, my artistic colleagues, about the season that we're planning for next year, so they can all learn what they're supporting and ask a lot of questions about it and be very candid. So I'm working on that in the moment right now, and fundraising, which I embrace. I'm pretty good at, and I don't pull away from it. It's necessary, and I like the people I meet who give me money.
Great.
They're interesting people. But the play I'm working on for next season is Young Jean Lee's Straight White Men, and that'll be my project in the 5-play season next year, as well as producing the whole season. But that's what I'm working on. We just finished bringing aboard 2 young, exciting directors. One I can't talk about. The other is a very exciting Black woman named Goldie Patrick. So she'll be doing one of our shows. It's a very diverse season. We have a show about Asian Canadian convenience store. We have a show about a young woman moving out of slavery in the Mississippi Delta and becoming a professor in academia and an activist. We're doing a production of Next to Normal with an all Latin cast because the director is Latin, and he said, the problems in this musical are in my community too, and I want to explore that. So it's kind of a cool season. I'm really proud of it.
It sounds exciting.
It is. So that's what I'm working on at the moment.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Really a great pleasure to speak to both of you and meet you. I so admire what I know about your theater. It's great work.
Thank you.
Mark, so thank you.
And thank you to you, the audience, for joining us. If you enjoyed the interview, please like below, follow AboutFACE, and share, because we believe theater makes life better. See you next time on AboutFACE Theater presents 5 Questions With.
If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and share. Thanks for watching.